We are like Moses, we lead other stations to the promised land.
Politics, power, discover what it all means. It's a class on history, a guide to today. From national debates to global diplomacy. This is Essays in Perspective with Mbum Ferdinand. On Rhythm 93.7 Jaws. Morning clarity Monday through Wednesday, 9 a.m. Putting the news in context.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to today's edition of Issues in Perspective. My name is Mbum Ferdinand, and you know how we usually do it. We interact. You call us, you make your comments as regard issues that we are talking about, and also issues that you think you have better idea of. It's a class of history and current affairs. So here we tend to remember our past. We look at the politics of our history and the history of our politics. And as I will always tell you, history can be good, bad, and ugly, but it is history nonetheless. And to forget history is to condemn oneself and future generations to repeat a retinue of errors. This is the only justification for doing what I do. So I am here to live. I believe we are going to live together to discuss these issues. We are looking at a couple of national events as well as international events today, which happened within the month of February. And during our last show here, we talked about the February 13, 1976 military rebellion in Lagos, where a group of young military officers attempted to overthrow the government of General Murtala Mohammed. It was a failed coup. The attempt couldn't succeed, but it succeeded in eliminating the head of state, General Murtala Ramat Mohammed, as well as the military governor of Kwara State, Colonel Ibrahim Taiwo. These officers were murdered, and there were repercussions for this. Because those officers who were involved in the mutiny were tried. A special military tribunal was set up. They were tried and convicted for treason, and they were all shot by firing squad. Though a couple of them were sent to jail. I believe they have served. Some of them did not even finish serving their jail term if they were released from prison. We might not be able to talk about that today, but by tomorrow or Wednesday, we will play the early morning announcement made by Lieutenant Colonel Buka Suka Dinka, the most visible face for that rebellion. The coup eventually failed, and Lieutenant General Olusegun Obasanjo emerged as a new head of state. His memo is there, "Not my will, not my will." That story mostly is about the February 13, 1976 military rebellion in Lagos, as well as his coming into power as Nigeria's head of state. You can get that book, "Not My Will." The hardcover is there. The book is at the bookshop. You can get them. For those of you resident in Jos, you can go to Rampam Street and look for the book. The bookkeeper is there. Tell them you want the book. If you can't find it, and give them, let them give you some days, or you give them some days, they can bring the book to you. I can assure you that. For those of you following us on social media, and you're not in Jos, any part of Nigeria that you are, you find yourself, you can still look for that book. You can still get the book. Not My Will. By tomorrow or Wednesday, we'll play.
Okay, people should be made to understand that even the largest democracy in the world do both manual collation and electronic transmission of results, as well as e-voting. That's electronic voting. But as per the Nigerian situation now, what I want I want to educate Nigerians from my own little knowledge of understanding on the result that has been that has been tallied from all political parties that participated in that election. When those results are being recorded on the form ECAT, then the beavers will be used to transmit those results, unanimously agreeing to do these things and now telling us a different thing. But I think from my own little understanding of what the whole process, it's not as if we are going into e-voting. Nigeria, yes, there should be technological advancements in terms of e-voting, but I don't think we are matured for e-voting at the moment. It starts from a gradual process.
Okay, we've lost that. You can still call. Now we are going to look at some national events. We also look at international events. The international events we are looking at today. We are looking at when Fidel Castro became prime minister in 1959. We'll look at that. We'll also look at the Ash Wednesday bushfire in Australia, and then Gulf, about 20% of the land mass of Australia in 1983. There was a deadly bushfire. Then we'll look at the cumulative sales of the Volkswagen Beetle in 1972 and how it exceeded those of the Ford Model T to officially become the best selling nameplate in the automobile industry at that point in time. We'll look at all that, but let's begin from home. Charity is going to begin from home today, and we'll look at the 1962 national census. Yes, on the 19th of February, the 1962 national census was cancelled on 19th February 1962 by Nigeria's Prime Minister Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. Balewa could not understand how southern Nigeria could be more populated than the north. The 1962 Nigerian census was highly controversial because each region accused others of inflating their population figures to gain political and economic advantages. The census results had major political implications since representation, resource allocation, and electoral strength depended on population figures. Each region suspected the others of manipulating the figures to increase their influence. Due to the widespread dispute and rejection of the figures, the census count was declared invalid and had to be redone in 1963. The story of Nigeria's 1962 census never gets old. Southern politicians seeking to end the North's dominance of Nigerian politics decided that the only way to do so was through the census. Population figures at the time determined not only parliamentary representation, but also revenue allocation and employee distribution in the civil service. In May of 1962, the first census under an independent Nigerian government began. There had been a frenzy of mobilization by politicians in the south of the country using pamphlets, radio, schools, churches, and mosques. Although the final results were not made public, the preliminary results were quite clear as to what had happened. The North's population had gone up from 16.5 million in the last census in 1952 to 22.5 million, an increase of 30%. But in some parts of the East, the population had increased by up to 200% and more than 70% in general. The West also reported an increase of 70%. What the preliminary results showed was that the North had lost its majority share of the country's population. The Northern leaders were not about to take that line down. The Prime Minister of the Federation, Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, had to cancel the headcount and ordered a fresh census to be held in 1963. This time, an additional 8.5 million people were discovered in the North, bringing the total to 31 million for the North, a figure higher than the population of every other African country at the time, and 56 million for Nigeria as a whole. The power balance had been restored, and Nigeria's census had been duly weaponized at the cost of $6.2 million. That's about $50 million in today's worth. Another census was conducted a decade later, in 1973, but was so hotly disputed and produced incredible figures that the government simply nullified the results. In 1991, the military government of General Ibrahim Babangida had another try at the population count. This time, after some delay, the figures were officially announced in March of 1992. There were just under 89 million people in the country. 15 years later, in 2006, another census was conducted, and the population was announced to have grown by more than 50% to 140 million. Nigeria's maximum ruler, General Sani Abacha, at the time, created an additional 6 states, bringing the total of states in Nigeria to 36. Remember, the first time states were created from region was in 1966, 66 or 67 by General Yakubu Gowon. 12 states were created then. Then on the 3rd of February 1976, just 10 days to the assassination, General Murtala Mohammed made it 19 states. And after then, we had some more creation before we got to 36. But the most interesting thing here is that we've never had any civilian government creating states. All the states that have been created in Nigeria are by the military. Though let's leave that for another day. A nearly successful military coup in April 1990 badly rattled the military high command and hastened the relocation of the federal capital from Lagos to Abuja, a process that was completed in December of 1991, right after the census had been completed. Given the large bureaucracy and patronage networks that follow the government in the move to Abuja, it would have been impossible not to reflect this in the numbers somehow. Thus, Abuja rose from 0% of the total in 1991 to 1% in 2006. The difference was made up by pushing down Abia to 2% of the total in 2006 from 3% in 1991. Every other state remained unchanged in its census figure. Hello, good morning.
Mr. Ferdinand. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Ferdinand.
Yeah, good morning. You're welcome. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Amechi. I'm calling from Rampant.
Okay, Amechi, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. You see, Mr. Ferdinand, I always go by your word that history is good, bad, and the ugly. You see, most of the time, some of us will say the British did more harm than good in this country. But remember, there are some things we gain from them, like the pain of twins and other things. Somebody on this program said last time that the military never did anything. I just picked the word you use now, that civilian government has never created anything. If not for the military, all those states created, I don't know what will have happened. So my point now is we should not turn the baby away with the bathwater. God knows why the military took government at that time. God knows why we're in the democracy now. So we should not overrule that Mr. A is the best and Mr. B is not the best. I wish you the best. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Amici, for your contribution. In the year 2000, the Nigerian government began a new revenue sharing formula that returned 13% of all onshore oil revenues to the oil producing states. In practical terms, whether link remained between population and revenue allocation was effectively broken by this new 13% derivation principle. In other words, there was no financial reason to manipulate the distribution of the census figures in 2006 in line with the 1991 numbers. This is best illustrated with the monthly Federation Account Allocation Committee (FAC), where the federal government and states gather to share oil revenues. According to the census figures of the 2006, the most populous state in Nigeria was Kano, with 9.4 million people. In January of that year, it received a total of 6.6 billion naira after all deductions. Akwa Ibom State, a major oil producing state, but with less than half the population of Kano at 3.9 million, received a total of 16.5 billion naira. Of this amount, 12 billion naira was its share of the 13% derivation principle. While just 8 of Nigeria's 36 states received this derivation payment, it nonetheless accounts for roughly a quarter of the total revenues shared by states monthly. In the same month, tiny Taraba State, with less than a quarter of Kano's 2006 population, received 3.8 billion naira as its share of revenues. If a link remains between population numbers and revenue sharing in Nigeria's resource-based economic model, it is at best tenuous. So the fact remains that whether we like it or not, population counts and census figure in Nigeria right from time immemorial has been a disaster. It has never been a success. Let us just tell ourselves the truth. What part of Nigeria's official census figure can be believed? What part of Nigeria's census figure can be believed? I don't think there's anyone. At the time we gave ourselves 50 million, at the time we gave ourselves 56 million, from the time we said it's 140 million. Now, some people are saying 200 million, some are saying 250 million. As a matter of fact, I met a man, a well-learned man, who told me that Nigeria is uncountable. Well, that's going to be a story for another day. You can call to make your contributions. The number to call is 08064641536. Then another issue, a national event on 22nd February 2017. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Mr. I'm back again.
Yeah.
Once again. Mr. Ferdinand, you've already talked about the crisis. Mr. Ferdinand, this is an issue that has been in limbo and it has been
I hope
for
we are speaking
very
to
long time,
from
from 1962 to 1963. Even the 2006 census you are talking about is based on assumptions. Well, I can't less agree with that learned fellow you met that told you that Nigerians are uncountable, but we are still countable anyway. That is just a statement. I get it. Okay, Mr. Ferdinand, we are talking about the 13% derivation policy. That is resource control. That is about resource control. When you look at the money gotten from oil revenue, is from the Niger Delta region. 99% of oil revenue is accrued from oil. It was just when Buhari came that due to his economic diversification, we started gaining grounds from proceeds from non-oil sector, that is agriculture. But truth be told, Niger Delta is densely populated, it's not thickly populated. But the resources that this country survives on is largely gotten from there. The larger chunk of monies we are getting is from oil. Okay, fine and good. And these people are what do we have? Oil exploration companies, they're multinational corporations who are into oil exploration. Okay, you met these people, they have arable land, they have waters, their major occupation is fish farming, though they are living in the creek yard. Fish farming. Okay, you polluted these waters with oil spillage, but yet these people are yet to be compensated. What do you want them to rely on as their source of livelihood? It is unfair for the people of Niger. The people of Niger Delta need to be taken well care of, just like other Nigerians. Sorry, please. Yes, their own case is a special case, and each and every discerning mind that understands how the country runs should be able to consider the people of the Niger Delta. They should be given considerations. I get me. But Mr. Ferdinand, what I'm trying to say here is that subvention, budgetary allocations from FAC, Federal Account Allocation Committee, that is, monies from the federal government that is being allocated to state, should not be based on population. I'm sorry, population is also an indices. It's also it should be seen as a yardstick. But population, when you look at the people of Nigeria, you look at Bayelsa State, for instance. Bayelsa State is the size of central zone of Plateau State with 8 local governments. I know still when this 13% reservation was going on, there is this youth, Bayelsa is getting like 15 billion, 15 billion naira. But if you go today, you go and see that Bayelsa is one of the poorest states in Nigeria. Poorest state in Nigeria. Based on monies we are doing, we have the Niger Delta Development Commission, we have the Amnesty Presidential Program. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, all these are part of measures to ameliorate the excruciating pains being experienced by the people of the Niger Delta. That reminds me of King Saro Wiwa, the environmental activist that was killed. Based on history, these are people that fought, that were at the forefront of this fight. It has not started today, it has started for a very long time. Fine and good. There are, Mr. President, we're talking about, we're talking about, that is the Abacha regime. Yeah, I think so. When Saro was killed. Then another thing, Mr. President, most of the developmental projects in this country were done under the military regime. We are not calling for regime change. We are not saying that, yes, that the democratic, government has not done their own part. But what we are saying, when you look at it critically, when you look at the issues from the prism of objectivity, you see that most of the developmental projects in this country were done under the military. Look at the refineries that were built then were done under the military. Look at the big bridges. Look at the big companies we have in Nigeria. Nigerian Airways, Delta Steel, Justino Limin, Ajakuta Steel. All this were done under the military. You can't rule out the fact that the military have done excellently well. Yes, but I think sometimes we underscore the military. Though you said that the word civilian regime is better, the word democratic the civilian regime, or the democracy is better than a military regime. That's my contribution this morning.
Thank you very much. Yes, and I stand by that. The worst democracy is better than the best military, according to how I want to look at it. Then let's look at this national event again before we go internationally. And we'll look at the fallout of the Watergate scandal, people that were in prison and all that. Let's look at this. On 22nd February 2017, during a robbery incident in one of the Zenith Bank premises in Owerri, Imo State, Southeast Nigeria, a gallant police officer known by the name Sergeant Chukwudi Iboko acted bravely to repel a deadly gang of 4 robbers. The brave policeman was fast and smart enough to gun down one of the armed robbers before taking cover to protect his life and commendably life of others. CCTV footage within the bank premises clearly showed every movement within its reach, and this included a black car that came in first, followed by a black Hyundai Elantra. The coming of the second car made the gate unable to be locked with the way it parked. 4 men then emerged from the vehicle with 3 holding weapons which looked like AK-47 rifles. The footage revealed the first person out of the car released a shot which caused many people at the entrance of the bank, including the uniformed security men who opened the gates, to melt off at the sight of spontaneous gunshots to protect themselves. The brave police sergeant returned fire severally as the robbers opened fire. 2 other policemen joined Sergeant Iboko, and the robbers were swiftly engaged in a gun battle. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
This is Pastor Rick. I'm calling you from Refuge here.
Pastor Rick, welcome to the show. Please, let's hear what you have to say.
Yes, I joined you very late.
Okay.
This program, I needed to understand a lot around what the engagement of this program is historically. If it is meant to bring Nigeria together, heal Nigeria, and chart a new course for the nation, having notes what is happening to us as a nation and the insincerities that is plaguing us and lies that has been found as a method of history to the entire country. The kind of programs that we really need is much not being on propaganda, but on realities. I listened to you some time ago when you shared the history of the Biafran War and all those that were behind it. Looking at some certain lies that has been made, should seriously throw away biasness and come out with realities on ground and what prompted this war. And if those things that created this problem by today, have they been solved? What make the people from the southeast running from the north to the south? Have those problems been solved? If these questions can be answered, you know that those who listen to this program, they begin to chart a course of realities of equating it to what is happening now. My brother, I need you to do more research in some of the issues that borders on that line. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for your contribution. But I must make it here known and let me be very plain here that in the autumn of 1966, I was not born. What we get to know is from various accounts of people who participated during this period, particularly in most of the issues that happened. Looking at the first military coup, looking at the revenge coup of both of 1966, and also we get stories from historians. That is why here on this program we recommend books. We recommend books so that you go and read, you study these books, and make your own conclusion yourself. So we are just like arbiters. We are just here to be in the middle. We get the stories back, and I must let you know that the most important reason why this program is on air is to educate our people, particularly the younger ones. You know, those young ones who are just enjoying life now. They don't know what their parents have passed through in the past. You know, to bring them to where they are now. Those very young ones, the Gen Zs, you know, the super Gen Zs, you know, all those young ones. There's a lady who called here on the show and said she record the show regularly and later play them for her 12-year-old daughter to listen. You know, that was highly commendable. You know, and we have always said it here: encourage your children to read. When you don't know about your history, you know, and you don't want to know about your history, then you are in big problem. So the major reason why we are putting this show, we are making sure that this show is in progress, is to ensure that we know about our past and we discuss it. You know, so knowledge is powerful. So it's important for us to know where we are coming from. That is why we usually put this, and it's not just about your environment. You also need to think about the outer world. Think about the world over. As they will tell you, the world is a small place. Yes, the world is a very small place. If you want to look at what's happening today, there are issues that have been brought to your doorstep, you know, just through the progress of technology. You know all these things. So we have to know about. That's why you see we do both national and international events most times when we do our show. So talking about the coup of 1960s, the Civil War and all that, you know, we were not born during that period, but at least we've read various accounts. And thank God people have written a lot. You know, there are more than 500 accounts on the Nigeria Civil War. So you could get anyone. You can read all of them, fine. You can just read a few, fine. But and there are some very, very critical accounts, very cogent accounts, and that we have, and we have been able to recommend this book so that you can read them. You can read them. So let's just free our mind and let's accept ourselves, most importantly as Nigerians, before going on. Whether this man is an Hausa man, that other one is Fulani, this is a Birom, or that is Igbo. Let's forget about all that and take ourselves firstly as Nigerians, and that will really help us to accept ourselves, the way we are. Yes. So as I always say, like the last class, I think the last class can also tell us what we don't know about certain things. You have the right to tell us. So if you have some things in your belly and you just decide to keep them without saying it, then it doesn't make sense. But you must do that with decorum. Don't insult anybody. Do not try to insult yourself or insult us. Just make your point with decorum. Yes, most of us we've read a lot, and we have a lot of these accounts, and some of the accounts differs, but that doesn't mean that you can't read them. You must read them. Like the issue of 1976 and the taking over of government, the transition between from Murtala Mohammed to Olusegun Obasanjo. A lot of people have said, even at the time, Tiwai Danjuma himself, the then chief of minister, have said he persuaded Olusegun Obasanjo to take over. Olusegun Obasanjo didn't want to take over. That he persuaded him. But there's this account by Brigadier General Gordon Alabi Isama in the book Tragedy of Victory. Go and read that book. That book is well loaded. Well loaded. You can get the hardcover. The Tragedy of Victory. And if you can't get the hardcover, you can go on udara.com, udarabooks.com, and get the online copy. He said that Tiwai Danjuma was plotting a coup within a coup and wanted to take over government, but he insisted, and he said General Alani Akirinade was his witness, that he insisted that the right thing must be done, that government must be given to the second in command, that nobody was going to take over this government. And they were discussing in Hausa, Tiwai Danjuma and Colonel Ibrahim Babangida were discussing in Hausa how to hijack the coup. But he had troops to command, and he was very influential at the time, and he insisted that no, that was not going to happen. Has anybody ever heard about that? No, nobody heard about that until that book was written. If not for that book, The Tragedy of Victory, no one would have heard of the fact that there was a coup, that Tiwai Danjuma and Colonel Babangida were planning a coup within a coup. They were trying to hijack the Dinka coup and take over government. Nobody would have known, or nobody would have heard. But that's the account. And Babangida in his book said he was sent to the radio house by Tiwai Danjuma, and he went in a motorcycle. But Gordon Alabi Isama in his book said that was not the story, that he ordered Babangida to go to the radio house, and that there were some of the bikes he was using, some of his boys were using to get information for him. He detailed one of his boys to take Babangida to the radio house. So that was his own story, and he was very emphatic about it. That Babangida, if Babangida felt that he was telling lies, Babangida should come out and dispute that. And Babangida has not disputed that till today. So most of these stories come in different forms, in different accounts. So it depends on what you want to believe or how you want to look at the story. But the truth is that something might happen and you might have different accounts. Like now, if you read the book The Dark Truth was written by Captain Emmanuel Wobosi. He wrote the book The Dark Truth. He wrote his account of the coup of January 15, 1960, and what really happened in Ibadan and Abeokuta, because that was his position. That was his where he was positioned during the revolution of 1960
Hello.
January. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, it's Pastoric once again. You know, when you are talking to us, you stack things. You see, but the reality of coups and counter coups, that the people baptize it Igbo coup, has been in the trend. And at one point, every reasonable Nigerians will be asking this question: at what point did this become an Igbo coup? Since the military in themselves did what they did, then the other coups, why is it that the counter coups was not baptized with a name, Northern coup or Yoruba coup or any other tribal coup?
The counter coup was called the Northern coup. It has been called the Northern coup severally.
People have used tribalism to wound a particular set of people, and that trend should not continue. Those who practice in this coup, the last book by General Babangida, he has come and said that it was not an Igbo coup, but today the wound is on a particular race, and we have gone through the pain of this seizure. My brother, there is a lot to even in those books. I have read many of them. Some who write with biasness, some who did not want to present the truth. There is propagandists in particular tribes that want to make this country keep going in particular abnormal way. And this should be seriously corrected by a generation of me and you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor Eric. Thank you very much for your contribution. Okay, let's just go straight back to what we're talking about. The gallant police officer that saved Zenith Bank in Owerri in 2017. As I told you earlier, 2 other policemen joined Sergeant Iboko, and the robbers were swiftly engaged in a gun battle. Shots rang out from the security post at the bank's entrance, shattering the car windows. An occupant of the car shot back, but one of the robbers who had tried to attack the occupant of the security post was instantly shot and killed. The video shows Iboko, who shot him, escaping from security post, while one of the other robbers pursued and shot after him. The Imo State Police Command informed newsmen after a few months that owing to the multiple gunshot injuries sustained by Sergeant Iboko, the sergeant succumbed to his injuries in April of 2017 while in the intensive care unit of the Imo State University Teaching Hospital in Owerri. Spokesperson for the command, Mr. Andrew Ewerem, explained that 2 other policemen in the security post of Zenith Bank during the shootout and who also sustained gunshot injuries recovered. So these are some of the national events of the time. Now let's go internationally. On the 16th of February 1959, Fidel Castro became the premier of Cuba after dictator Fulgencio Batista was overthrown on the 1st of January. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Good morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Ferdinand.
Yeah, good morning,
My
Mazi.
name is Okoro Okorafo, calling from Owo Blue Education Center Village. You just mentioned Cuba, Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
Now, we have seen what is happening now in Cuba between America and Donald Trump regime. Cuba, at least in those days, Nigeria used to have what we call Cuban doctors, nurses, lecturers here that come to Nigeria. Now, I don't know how I've just done to let's call it another side. In what American government have said that Cuba, instead of Cuba to settle the economic well that is affecting the country, they now decided to back up all these problems. Now, what America have done now, they have seen it. We know Cuba as one of the leading countries in those days. So I don't know what is happening. Is it because of leadership or what? Now, I think you have what Trump said. They have now prevented countries, no more oil. Right now in Cuba, you can't get even Jet A or in terms of aviation industry. It's affecting the economy because one of the airlines, the air business used to be a very nice, lucrative business in Cuba. You have seen it. No oil. People are facing serious problems, cooking gas, name them. Now, you see, why is it that in countries, when they are balanced, they will not face the reality of life, they are not trying to play politics that does not bring in any dividends to the country, which is a very, very bad problem to them. Now, we are seeing what is happening even in Iran and the US. At least by tomorrow, we know whether Third World War will start or not. But we pray it will not start because people that witnessed the First World War, Second World War, it was not a sweet day. Although we used to see those people I think they are later around the 17 years of after the Second World War. Figures of gallant people that participated there. So they're around 90 something, 80 something. Very few of them, when we see them on screen, I say, "Kai, if some people that participated in that Second World War, First World War are still alive, and they are still moving gallant, few of them. What's happening with the new generation? To pray that Iran will dance to the tune of America, so that will be what, because Trump is saying that he wants all peace. He doesn't want any country to use religion, to use anything and intimidate another country. Face their own country problem, solve their own country problem, leave others to face the reality of the life of their own country." Good morning, Mazu Kraf, from Owo Education Center Village in Anglo Jos Plateau State.
Thank you very much, Mazi, for your contribution. Fidel Castro became the premier of Cuba after dictator Fulgencio Batista was overthrown on the 1st of January 1959. In April same year, he visited the United States of America, where he met Vice President Richard Nixon, whom he instantly disliked. In May of 1959, Castro signed into law the first agrarian reform, setting a cap for land holdings to 993 acres per owner and prohibiting foreigners from obtaining Cuban land ownership. Around 200,000 peasants received title deeds as large land holdings were broken up. Popular among the working class, it alienated the richer landowners. Castro appointed himself president of the national tourist industry, introducing unsuccessful measures to encourage African American tourists to visit, advertising Cuba as a tropical paradise free of racial discrimination. Judges and politicians had their post, while low-level civil servants saw their pays raised. And in March of 1959, Castro declared rents for those who paid less than $100 a month halved. Although refusing to categorize his regime as socialist and repeatedly denying being a communist, Castro appointed Marxists to senior government and military positions. Most notably, Che Guevara became governor of the central bank and then minister of industries. Angered, Castro in turn announced his resignation as prime minister, blaming Urrutia for complicating government with his fervent anti-communism. Over 500,000 Castro supporters surrounded the presidential palace demanding Urrutia's resignation, which he submitted. On July 23rd, Castro fought Model T, the Volkswagen Beetle, officially the Volkswagen Type 1, officially known in part of the English-speaking world as the Bug. In Nigeria, here we call it the tortoise car, and known by many other nicknames in other languages. It's a two-door rear engine car intended for 5 occupants that was manufactured and marked by German automaker Volkswagen from 1938 until 2003. The first Volkswagen was one of the first rear-engine cars since the brass era, with 21,529,464 produced. The Beetle is the longest running and most manufactured car of a single platform ever made. Although designed in the 1930s, due to World War II, civilian Beetles only began to be produced in significant numbers by the end of the 1940s. The car was then internally designated the Volkswagen Type 1 and marked simply as the Volkswagen. Later models were designated Volkswagen 1200, 1300, 1500, 1302, and 1303, the former three indicating engine displacement, the latter two derived from the model number. The car became widely known in its home country as the German for beetle, cognate with English chauffeur, and was later marketed under the name in Germany and as the Volkswagen in other countries. Over time, front-wheel drive and frequently hatchback-bodied cars will come to dominate the European small car market. In 1974, Volkswagen's own front-drive Golf hatchback succeeded the Beetle. In 1994, Volkswagen unveiled the Concept 1, a retro-themed concept car with the resemblance to the original Beetle, and in 1998 introduced the new Beetle built on the contemporary Golf platform, with styling recalling the original Type 1. It remained in production through 2010 and was succeeded in 2011 by the Beetle AS, the last variant of the Beetle, which was also more reminiscent of the original Beetle. Production ceased altogether by 2019. In the 1999 Car of the Century competition to determine the world's most influential car in the 20th century, the Type 1 came fourth after the Ford Model T, the Mini, and the Citroën DS. But overall, the Volkswagen Beetle is the second most sold nameplate of all time after the Toyota Corolla at number 1 and ahead of Ford Model T at number 3. I believe you know that now. Then on the 17th of February in 2011, as a out of the Arab Spring, Libyan protests against the regime of Muammar Gaddafi. In Bahrain, security forces launched a deadly pre-dawn raid on protesters in Pearl Roundabout in Manama. The day is locally known as Bloody Thursday. The Arab Spring was a series of anti-government protests, uprisings, and armed rebellions that spread across much of the Islamic world in the early 2010s. It began in response to oppressive regimes and a low standard of living, starting with protests in Tunisia. The protests then spread to 5 other countries: Libya, Egypt, Yemen, Syria, and Bahrain, where either the regime was toppled or major uprisings and social violence occurred, including riots, civil wars, or insurgencies. Sustained street demonstrations took place in Morocco, Iraq, Algeria, Iranian Khuzestan, Lebanon, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, and Sudan. Minor protests occurred in Djibouti, Mauritania, the Palestinian National Authority, Saudi Arabia, and the Moroccan occupied Western Sahara. A major slogan of the demonstrations or the demonstrators in the Arab world is the people want to bring down the regime. The importance of external factors versus internal factors to protest spread and success is contested. Social media was one way government tried to inhibit protests. In many countries, government shut down certain sites or blocked internet service entirely, especially in the times preceding a major rally. Government also accused content creators of unrelated crimes or shutting down communication on specific sites or groups, such as Facebook. In the news, social media has been heralded as a driving force behind the swift spread of revolution throughout the world, as new protests appear in response to success stories shared from those taking place in other countries. The wave of initial revolutions and protests faded by mid 2012 as many Arab Spring demonstrations met with violent responses from authorities as well as from pro government militias, counter demonstrators, and militaries. These attacks were answered with violence from protesters in some cases. Large conflicts resulted the Syrian civil war, the Iraqi insurgency, and the following civil war, the Egyptian crisis, coup, and subsequent unrest and insurgency, the Libyan civil war, and the Yemeni crisis, the following civil war. Yes, and well, we will come back to tell you about the last batch of the Israeli soldiers that left the West Bank of the Suez Canal pursuant to a truce with Egypt. That was in 1973. We will tell you about that. And we'll come on to tell you about that tomorrow. And we'll also talk about a high-ranking United States government officials who were sentenced to various levels of imprisonment for their participation in the Watergate scandal. We'll tell you about that and how these persons were sent to prison. Some of them were dismissed from government positions. Please, to our audience, we want to admonish you to listen to our program with an open mind. If you are listening to us, please listen with an open mind, so that we can learn. We can always learn from each other, but we have to make constructive contributions. Please, you should take note about this. It's not we are not stereotyping any particular group or any tribe or any set of people. We are just trying to remind ourselves of issues of the past and appreciate how these issues are. Like now we just talked about the police agent, Chukudi Boko, who saved the situation in Zenith Bank, where in 2017, how he died 2 months later in the hospital. These are the kind of stories we want to keep reminding ourselves so that people could have the encouragement to walk. So that is it. So we just have to tell ourselves our past and fathom ways on how to repair our future. That is the essence of this. So we really want to thank all of you who are able to contribute. For those of you who are not able to take your calls, you can still call again tomorrow. The program is Issues in Perspective. It's a production of History Desk TV. And we are always here for each other. Please, you can call Ayuba for sponsorship details. The number to call is 08032851135. Thank you very much. On behalf of every member of the production crew, I'm thanking you and urging you to join us again tomorrow. Special thanks to the Redeem FM family for providing us with this platform, and to Smokey for handling the console very effectively. We are out. That man, it's be a problem now. It's be that man problem. I don't understand.
The man problem is
I just vex anyhow.
They say why they say Iboku.
What be a problem?
You made it clear on this station that some account said it's an Iboku. Some said it's Iboku. So there are different accounts.
Babangida book, Bangladesh no be Iboku.